again, I got to say, most of the realism, they tried their best with the realism and stuff, and it worked out pretty well. But skipping to the point about about everything that was going on outside, it came time to film on the inside. So I get invited to come and see this, and I remember I had my father's car, and that night I couldn't drive. My father was out, so I had to take the train, the N train, from my house to 8th Avenue. I remember getting off, and 8th Avenue by the club was packed, jammed, trailers, cops, ambulances, everything. It took me 15 minutes for them to actually let me in, because I had to wait for somebody to go get somebody else to make sure he's all right, and I had the walkie-talkies. And that was my first time I ever seen a movie being made. And by this time, I know who John Travolta is. And the only reason why I know who he is because my little brother had a lunchbox. And the lunchbox said Sweat Hog. And then, coincidentally, like the next week, he was on the cover of TV Guide, that TV Guide picture you showed. And I kind of put it together. But he had long hair in the movie. Right, his hair was longer. And I had never met John Travolta up until that night. And it was very weird because they were filming, forget what scene it was, the first night I was there. The reason I do use that as a lead is because they had Paramount, the production company, in the script, wanted to give the place some kind of like, color and make it nice because it was a shithole. Well, back then, this was all mirrors back then. You could barely see the Christmas lights, but this light over here with the what do they call them? Helicopter lights. And that dance floor was put in by a company called Light Lab, and it was just for the movie. I think at the beginning they were just going to use it for the movie, and then they were going to take it out or whatever. Now, I had no idea it was even there, because it was covered, all the equipment was on it, because they were filming parts that were facing out from the floor. So all the cameras and all the tarps and everything that was there was covering the floor. So I had no idea. And I'm in there watching this filming and all of this stuff. And the next thing I know, Chuck comes up to me and says, "You want to meet John Travolta?" I'm like, well, okay, fine. I walk up to the stage, and he's sitting in a chair on the old bar stools, and they're putting makeup on him. He's got the white suit on. And I mean, I wasn't starstruck because I really didn't know him. I mean, I knew, but once I got closer, I realized it was him. And he says, "John, this is Ralphie. He's the DJ." And he goes, "Oh, hey, how you doing, man?" I says, "Wow." I says, "You got to cut your hair for this." He goes, "Yes, I'm still getting used to it." And he goes, "You're from Brooklyn, right?" I'm like, "Yes." He says, "You're going to be around?" I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "Do me a favor. If you hear anything in my dialogue that sounds weird, the way I'm saying it, I would appreciate if you would say something." And I'm, really? Okay, fine. Yeah, I never had a chance to.
So did you notice his accent sound authentic for a guy from the hood?
Well, that was not, but he talked like this. "I'm from Englewood, New Jersey, and, I used to like to do this, but not Brooklyn, so far." That's why when I heard that, I'm like, okay, I would think he's going to, that's why I said you're going to change your accent because I didn't hear any dialogue yet. And the only dialogue he had to appear was when they asked extras. And Chuck goes, remember, they were there the whole week before. And Chuck is already in the movie. He's in the corner. The father's in the movie over here. And he was a bouncer here and all that.
I think we got Chuck's picture with you and Roman. Let's see.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Yes. That's Charlie the owner next to me.
Charlie's to the left of you. Charlie's to the other. That's his father.
Right. And that's DJ the Trophy. Chuck's the tall guy, and Roman Ricardo. Roman Ricardo ended up doing really, really well for himself. Worked with Vito Bruno. He produced Noel, Silent Morning. He played at 1018 years later. Roman was a good guy.
Yes,
and he was Chuck's friend. And every once in a while he will come and play. But he comes into the picture a little bit later. But I
want to show Chuck just so people can see.
Yeah. So Chuck was like a really cool guy. He was
So, but see, let me ask you something. Did Chuck realize, like you're not starstruck at all? Was he calm and cool about this whole thing? Was it more about money for the club?
There you go. How about this? Try to picture this. Nobody, even Travolta himself, I believe, I mean, I didn't ask him, but had any idea. No inclination, no, that's going to be good. It was just all these
zero. Not even
zero.
Maybe it's going to be big.
Zero. And because, again, it was, later on we find out it was a part of a 3-picture deal. It was Saturday Night Fever, Grease, and then he signed for a third one. I forget what it was. They don't even mention it. But the Saturday Night Fever was just supposed to be like a small, it was low budget. If you look at the movie and see how that was shot later on, when you start looking at movies, you kind of get it. I mean, the lighting, the takes, the cameras they used, looking at a high budget movie, you could kind of get it. But then I wasn't smart enough to look at that, and never did I think to look at that. But I guess everybody had to do with that.
But why would you? You said this is the first time you ever saw filming.
Oh, yeah.
So anything that you're seeing done looked like a real.
Yeah, it's great, and to me. You got to remember, they had a crew. There's lighting technicians, there's riggers, there's the microphone people, there's all that stuff that's there happening all the time.
Action, clip.
Exactly. Actually, I had that thing. I'll explain it.
Clapboard.
Yeah. So it was again, it was kind of cool. I would stay. They would start filming in the club about early in the morning, and they would finish really, really late at night. And I think I would leave like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. Or maybe I get lucky somebody drove me home. But the next funny thing was they had asked for extras. Chuck says, you want to be in the background. I'm in the background. My girlfriend's in the background. This is in the background. Again, remember, I didn't see, these were things that were in the can already. I didn't see any of that.
Side of the dance floor.
Yeah.
You were in the background by the mirrors, right?
No. That's Alex. That's Chuck's cousin.
No, but I'm saying is, as far as backgrounds that you guys were filming, you were in the club on the walk. Is that when he
Right. They were filming from that wall looking to the, a matter of fact, let me see where I am here. So hold on, let me get my finger. So they were filming, the camera was this way. Pointing that way. No, I'm sorry, pointing towards the girl, pointing towards the red dress from that corner. So that's why the part that I had seen, the dance floor was covered. They weren't using that room. They were using the room as where to get the shots from. They were focusing in on the hallway, the doors in the hallway.
The floor, the 10th floor was pretty level, right? All of a sudden,
it was level on the floor. Yeah, it was a regular level. Yeah.
So now you come into work, you see the floor was raised, right?
Yeah, but I only saw that after. I didn't. The first time I was in there and I got in that background part, I never even knew that floor was there. It was really kind of weird. But what had happened was the first background part I got in, but it never made the cut. Was I was standing there. He runs out of the club after he gives the girl the prize. I think you deserve this. And he takes the girl and he's running out. And as he's walking out, he's just shithole. And he runs out. Well, I happen to be at there when the guy says, okay, extras, you stand here, you stand here, you stand here. And the guy put my arm up against the wall like this. And there was a girl in front of me this way. And he says, when John runs by you, he's going to brush the side of you. All I want you to do is this, go like this, go like this. Continue your conversation. And they did it like 5 times. I said to myself, the camera's like, I'm in the freaking movie. Oh my God, this is freaking cool. I'm in a movie. Not thinking that what it was going to become. But then the next week I came in, and that's when I saw the dance floor. That's when they were filming what song is it? The One and a Woman thing, and she has the white dress on, and extras, and they put us by the door, and there's a shot where you could see it. I got like a brown leather jacket on with like a yellowish shirt, like a Kiana shirt on, and I had a cigarette. I was like, and I'm just like this by the door. I was only on maybe 15 seconds. But if you really look at that scene was done a couple of times, And there's a part in it where first you see me there and they show you another shot for the same thing and I'm not there because I wasn't there that day. That's how they put those things together, which is really, really weird. So I'm thinking that I'm in this movie. Now I'm looking at these lights and all of this stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is really, really cool. Still, nobody's got any idea, any inclination of how this is going to go. And next thing I know, it's December. They stop filming. Now, this is an important part, very important. While this is going on, a lot of people around the world, except if you're in New York and you're of the age, you'll remember there was a serial killer.
Yeah, let me go to that picture. Hang on, let's go here. Let's go to the picture.
Big thing. Here it is. Right. Son of Sam. Son of Sam was a serial killer who terrorized New York. First, I think he started in the Bronx, and he went to Queens. And his MO was to kill girls with, what was it, blonde hair or black hair? And the girls were dyeing their hair. I can't remember. One of the two. Is either if the blonde, so any of the girls that went out, they always dyed their hair, or he liked long hair, and everybody cut their hair short.
Yeah.
So clubs at the time, the attendance in the clubs were dwindling because people was scared to go out. And remember, they had cops, detectives, private people, mob people looking for this guy. And how many years was he? I think
wow,
good 3-4 years. I think he started 76.
Yeah, 77.
76, 77.
July 4th, was he caught him or something around that time?
August 78, they caught him. And unfortunately, actually, one of my friends, the guy, I mean, I don't know him that well, but I knew him. Robert Violante was the last guy. I mean, he lived through it. And the girl that he was with passed away. She got shot in the head. It was terrible. But that was, clubs were kind of weak. So when they closed 2001 down for the filming, I remember, I actually, that was another thing I had. Club is going to be closed from September 4th until, I don't know, whatever, it's October 5th or whatever for filming, and that was it. I still have that somewhere. I thought I would have found it. But you got simultaneously all of this stuff is going on. And then I come to work one day, and Charlie hands me the flyer, and he says, okay, announce this. And now people are starting to come back. The people that used to come to the club now notice this dance floor. And it was just, what's this thing? It's great. They're filming a movie here. Still, nobody has any freaking clue what this is going to do. It's just, okay, a movie, great. And if you look at the writing on this thing, admission, $10. You had to wear a suit jacket. Guys back then, when we went out, we wore collared shirts, like a chain, never ties really, but 3-piece suits. You wanted to look good, and women look good. That's what I really miss. That's why at that point, you got to remember, disco was still not a household name at the time. It was still underground, but when you went out, you were a young teenager going out. Remember, the drinking age was 18. Everybody went out and looked good. And
be in lights, meet the stars, meet the press, party with us all night. Jackets are required.
Yep.
Big admission, and this is 1977, folks. $10. That was a lot of money then.
Very, yes,
you can't get people to pay $10 now. Well, you would say now you got to pay $10.77. It's a world premiere.
Now, by this time, everybody knew that this movie was coming out. And there was a buzz happening about it, but again, I can't even stress to you that nobody had any idea. So long story short, here's the moment where my life just goes from this.
Hang on, Ralphie. So you got the premiere thing. He says, announce it. So you tell Chuck. I remember we had this conversation.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to right now. I know what you're talking about.
You got to tell. Chuck tells you.
Well, I'm DJing early in the night, and I announce it. And then Chuck comes in to play. And he announced it. And I was like, I can't wait to freaking see this thing, man. It's going to be cool. I mean, I can't believe I'm going to be.
You're excited. You're going to the premiere, right? You're going to the premiere.
Yeah, I'm getting dressed. I got it all. I'm getting a haircut. I'm doing everything. I can't wait. Chuck goes, you can't go to the premiere. And I look at him. I'm thinking he's.
What are you talking about? What do you mean
I can't go to the premiere? What are you talking about? You can't go to the premiere. You got to DJ the party, the after party for it. And I'm like, so what? What's the big deal? Ralph, the premiere is in Brighton. It's like right here. As soon as that movie's over, everybody's coming in. You got TV, this and that. So at first, I took it as a freaking insult. I can't figure, are you serious? And I got kind of ridiculous. He says, Ralph, listen to me. You could always go see the movie Sunday. You need to see it that night. And you know what? I'll tell you how you looked when I come back from it. I'll tell you
how you look.
Yeah, I'll tell you how you look. I'm like, I'm fine. So, again, I don't know where my head was at. I'm a skinny little idiot kid. I'm like, okay, whatever. But now I didn't realize that this was the beginning of the, of the freak of change. I had no idea what's coming. Long story short, the premiere night comes. I come and try to park my father's car. You can't park anywhere. I'm talking about it was blocked off for 4 blocks all the way around each way. You couldn't get anywhere near this thing. And I finally get a spot and I'm walking. And maybe I have about 10 records. So when you go and get records, you take them in with you. And I look, I see, remember those old, I think they still got them, the old TV antennas on the trucks? Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 6, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, Unbelievable. I'm like, whoa. Now, seeing that at the beginning, maybe a microcosm of when they were filming outside, but this was no joke. So now I walked in, I got in very fast this time because the guy remembered me. I had the records. I walk in and I remember there were wires.
Get to Ralphie's booth.
Thick wires running from outside, spotlights and mobile setups for TV and all. When I got in that booth, I couldn't even breathe. I had 15 people asking me 15 different things at the same time. And I'm just like, look, what I'm going to do is play. I got to put music on. What about this? Hold on. Let me get the light here. Because they were setting up location spots where Channel 2 was by the door. So they wanted to make sure they got their lights right. And then Channel 4 was here. And then this. So that was the beginning of like, what the hell is going on here? And then the next thing I know, people start coming in. It was pandemonium. That was the first night I played by myself in the club. Wasn't that night, that picture was, but that's the booth, obviously. And it was so surreal. Now I go back to the same thing now. Remember, I was brought up with like a nervous situation. I was beside myself. I didn't know, my hands were shaking to the freaking point where now I'm trying to mix songs together. And as I'm trying to mix songs, I got somebody in my ear over here. And then I got somebody in my ear here. Can you stop the music? It just, no, we can't stop the music so you can have it. No, it was so wild and so something I just never experienced before. I actually couldn't wait for it to end because I was so scared of this unknown thing. Here I am, this little kid with this, all of a sudden, boom, like just shot out of a rocket and being thrown in the middle of this thing. I still had no idea, no clue of what this would become after. I'm just blown away by what's happening that night. And now I'm like, oh my God. And a lot of that night after was kind of a blur. But I remember the next day, my phone was ringing off my aunts, my cousins, the guys down the block, this, that. I saw you on TV because like the film, you know, they would sweep it and they would come to the booth and go like this. And that film exists somewhere. I know Chuck had it, but unfortunately Chuck passed away. Somebody's got it. Maybe I gotta ask Denise if she has it. But just like I was one person and then I transformed into another. And I didn't know how to handle it. And that was a really bad part about it because, you know, what do I do? Now this picture is actually a year later when I was named DJ of the Year 79, but a lot of stuff happened in between that. I mean, I must look like, really cool. I'm happy and everything, but yeah, there you go. That was probably 2-3 months into it. All those guys that they were dancers, they were doing the show, coordinating it, and they were doing all sort of stuff. And I was, I don't know what song that is. It looks like it's Polygram, but I couldn't tell you what song it was. But that's when it started to change. And
but you got a lot going on. You got so now. So tell us, the phones are ringing. You are. This is crazy. You go from Ralphie, the kid down that lives on, to Ralphie, the guy from Holy Smoke.
Oh my God! And within, I don't know, maybe about a week or two, there were lines in that place to get in that place. I have never seen anything like this. Remember, I have a nervous condition. I have almost like stage fright, but not particularly stage fright. And I really honestly think about it now, how I was able to do it. And what was happening was I had friends of mine that I had friends that I had never knew. I went from being like an introvert kind of guy to people from my junior high, people I went to grammar school with. But people were bringing their cousins from Long Island or who's from Boston on the block. And it was all pressure. It was pressure.
Plus, you know the papers.
A lot of oh yeah, this is a real good story. Nobody knows that Saturday Night Auto. Anyway, we're in 1978, and this thing is happening. Now I joined the record pool.
IDRC, become IDRC.
Right? Look, Bin 38 as me, and if you look back then, Bin 39 is actually John Donato. I didn't even know him then, but he freaked out when I posted that. So I just happened to find that in some old pictures. So here I am, 1978. Everything is blowing up. It's freaking huge. We got Glory again in the Village. You name the acts that come in, and now I got record promoters coming, bringing me test pressing. So here I am trying to play music and trying to concentrate playing on music, and this gets shoved under my nose. That gets shoved under my nose. Drinks. Other things being shoved under my nose. And it got to a point where I wasn't enjoying it as much as I thought I was enjoying it. It was too much of a stress for me because I was so into mixing the songs correctly. You don't want to make a mistake and do something that people go, oh, it's terrible. And I was very, very, very conscious of that at a very young age, not to try to make any mistakes. And it was, how can you concentrate when, I always felt bad for like a guy like Richie Kazor or like a Robbie Leslie or anybody that worked at Studio 54 at the time, because here, these guys are trying to play music at one of the most famous clubs in the world. And you got people coming over your show. It was, I know what that was like, and that was not cool. Now, the record promoters, they somewhat knew that, they would give it to me, and I would know, and either I would get the record at the pool beforehand. Yeah, that's another thing that was taken in 78, was the New York Times magazine, and they did a whole thing. Now disco is becoming huge. It's becoming big, really, really big. And now I'm starting to realize that this is more than just a movie. This is like a big thing. Everybody, you got to remember, the baby boom generation was one of the times where more kids were born in that era, from 49, I think, to 65. And there was everything to hang out at that time. Other clubs opened. It was just pandemonium. Everything revolved around that, and I was in the center of this hurricane, spinning around, and friend, girls. I was just
a celebrity at this point. You're a celebrity.
Yeah, I was getting dragged from here to here to here to here, and then when that starts happening, you start getting people that know you. That I had a couple of friends that were really good friends that started to think for me and started to see what was happening, and they started to become buffers for me, where I had to have somebody stand by that boot. I mean, I'm getting offered, you name it. That's later on. That's 84. That's in promotions. But
later, but I'm just saying, could you imagine everybody's wanting to get into the food?
Jesus Christ! Oh my God! It was absolute.
Ralphie!
Exactly. And let's say here's for instance, the Village People. The first place they ever performed was at 2001 in front of a crowd anywhere else. First time. And they were really, really cool. Now you look at the Village People now.
Look at the graphics that they did.
Parker. Yeah. No, that was probably Charlie who wrote that. You know, they kept the top and they just changed the middle, the Village People. And next week it was Gloria Gaynor or whatever.
Scissor cut, put the new part, and they went the Xerox machine, went like this.
Yep.
Turn themselves. And they just go like this.
That was it. Exactly. And those are all over the walls.
And then they put it on the walls and on all the telephone poles in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that was it. And that's how they promoted it.
And look at this number. SH5.
Yeah, 9611, yeah.
Because that area in Brooklyn where the numbers would be on the rotary dial.
Yeah, that's right.
Crazy.
S was, I think, 7745. I can't remember.
I think it was, 7. Yeah, it was 77. Yeah.
So now my life is changed. Now I'm not that skinny little
you're a movie star.
Introverted kid. But yet, I have to bring this up because it's part of my life. I was depressed. I grew up depressed. I had a chemical imbalance in my body from being just being a little kid and being yelling, screaming, all that stuff. There were certain things that I couldn't do. When I would have a nervous situation, I would get panic attacks. At 14, 15 years old, panic attacks. And here I am in one of the most famous clubs in the world in front of all these people. And I'm trying to do this now. What kind of subdued the panic attacks was I had to concentrate on the music. When I was concentrating on the music, it was okay. But when I would pick my head up and go to change the record, I don't know how to this day. I don't know how I did. I really don't know. But it became, after a while, it became a like second nature. So I had a gatekeeper and everything was cool. But getting back to the Village People, this club is packed, and now the DJ booth was behind the stage. So when right before the show goes on, people that are dancing want to come up to the stage and get a good view of the stage. And I'm playing, I got my head down, and my friend, I remember him leaning up to me, and he goes, "Look at all these girls." And I remember picking my head up, and the whole front, like this. People like this. Look at. Now, I'm like, that's when I kind of got it. And when the show would go off, I would walk down. And that's when, hey, Robbie Rose, this is my sister. This is this. Let me tell you something. I was never a womanizer. I never abused women. I was always good. And at any...
Yeah, but you were kidding, Ralphie. Come on.
I was pretty good. I do got to say I was good.
You got the wife beater shirt on. You got
yeah. I was,
bro.
Yeah. I was pretty good. And by this time,
the other thing is, remember, you're in the hottest discotheque in the land, in the world.
That's what also comes with that are problems with a lot of guys. I had guys that didn't even know me. They hated me. Why? Because here I am. I'm in this club, and you got to remember, by this time now, it's in the culture disco was in the culture. Everybody went out. Everybody got dressed and their thing. They want to go meet a girl. And here I come. Guy sitting there knows the girl over there. Loves her. So I come over and the girl starts talking to me. And the guy's like, gotta be fucking, you fucking serious? So through no fault of mine, I'm not trying to be a big show over there, fuck you, and walk away. I was never like that. But what also used to happen too is back then, if you came to a club, a central place, and you were from like Canarsie, you were from Bensonhurst or whatever, if you met a girl and you went out to date them, you had to go pick them up where they lived. Obviously, later on when you dated them, guys were very, very not cool about people out in the neighborhood coming to date their sisters or coming to date their cousins. But I used to get a pass for that, actually, because most of the time, if I would go date somebody knew who I was. Oh, yeah, right, yeah, he's okay. Yeah. Ralphie, by the way, listen, you going to let me in next week? Yeah, no problem. So,
Ralphie got me covered? No problem. I got you covered.
Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. And then the next step, so now we established, I'm at this place, I'm doing all of this stuff, everything is happening. And then another turning point happens. When the movie it's got to be around March 78, something like that. I just happen to pull into a gas station in Bensonhurst. Give me, I don't know, what you put in the car back that time, $5, $10, whatever. And I'm with my friend and I'm sitting there. And all of a sudden I look and I see this car backed into a parking spot in the gas station. I'm like, wait a second. The freaking car from the freaking movie. Now, remember, the movie was just becoming popular. People see it, but I knew that car because I'd seen all the rushes and all the parts. I'd seen the movie how many times. Oh my God. I get out, I walk up, and it's the car. I'm looking around. Now the window is smashed, front slide window, and there's no fender on the car. I'm like, what's it doing here? So I get out. Oh, the guy comes over to pump the gas. And this guy, I forget what his name is. And he tells me, whatever. I said, whose car is that? And he goes, that's my car. It was, he actually ended up being, which I found out later, was a guy that was a little bit slow. He was an older black guy. I forget what his name was. Well, I think I had to sign papers and I would never go in the gas station again. But long story short, I said, you want to sell the car? And he says, yeah, I'll sell the car. How much you going to give me for it? And I says, I don't know. Remember, it's a 1963 Impala. The car was 6 colors. It had holes in it with the camera mounts when they were filming it. The windshield was busted and all the stuff. I think I offered him like $200 or $250. He goes,
in the movie, guys, you remember when John and them they bust through the front of this place where the Puerto Rican they had the big fight? Well, that's the car he's talking about. He's looking at. So if you go back to the movie, this way,
right. That's why a lot of people have never seen Saturday Night Fever, which maybe you'll go to look at.
Watch Saturday Night Fever, and this time you never saw it. You'll see they bust through the front, and they have a big fight, a brawl, and that's the car he's talking about.
Right. And what happened was they used that. It was one of the last scenes they filmed in the movie, I found out. And when they busted through, the door came down and broke the window, and the fender started to hit the wheel well. So they just took the fender off to get the car to be drivable, and they left the hole in the window. So long story short, I didn't have $200 on me, so I had money home. I think my friend had. We scraped the money together. I come back. Guy gives me the registration, and I'll never forget. Now, this is where it gets hairy. The original name of the movie was Saturday Night. It was not Saturday Night Fever. That came after. The working title was called Saturday Night. So the registration said Saturday Night Production Corporation. The guy who signed it is Melt Felsen. And if you look at the credits in the movie later on, I realized that he was the associate producer, whatever. And the car, I found out, unfortunately, later on, was insured by Lloyd's of London for like $3 million. You know, it's a movie. Car and McGuff, they run somebody over, so they needed the money to have it insured. So apparently they left the car there because one of the last scenes they did, I forget what, I really didn't find out. All I knew, that was the car. So I drive it home. Guy signs the bill of sale. And I go home. So I leave the car in my friend Mark Levine's garage, like Coney Island Hospital. And I leave the car in. And I started looking at it. The one side of the car had ball tires because in the movie they do those spin outs and with the water on the street. So that's how they do it. They put good tires on one side, bad tires on the other way to get the car to spin. Open up the hood. There were new shocks. I mean, the motor was worked on. Everything was cool. But me, I didn't care about that. It was the car from the movie. So back then, I got to try to tell you how Brooklyn was. We would get away with a lot of stuff. And I never even bothered to insure or register the car. I would keep the papers in my pocket. I mean, I had gotten pulled over a few times. And when I got pulled over,
the cops from a couple of the times you got pulled over, they recognized it was you from
no, one or two of them did, but the other time I got pulled over in Bay Ridge, and I mentioned Charlie from the club, and they were in the same precinct, and they're like, "Again, just watch yourself, whatever." So we now Charlie, rest in peace, the owner sees the car, and he's like, "I got an idea. Let's put the car inside the club." Now, a lot of you probably know, how do you put the car inside the club? 2001 had tiers like this. So the entrance is on 64th Street, which was the lowest tier when you walk in. But if you look in that movie, you'll see where they sat was up tier up, and then there was a tier higher, and then there was finally a third tier. And that third tier was on the 8th Avenue side, and there were doors on the side, like movie doors, like when you go to a movie theater, you open up the doors. So what we did was we got the police barricades, made ramps out of them, and we backed the car onto the tin dance floor that was on the top, because there was always a tin dance floor on the top. It was there since the beginning. Biggest mistake we made. And everybody, they were taking headlights, windshield wipers. They probably had to put a bounce in there to make sure that nobody took anything. And then it was also a problem because there were sharp objects. There was the fender missing, and the window was blown out. So we had to take the car out of there. And there's only one picture that exists of that car. Who would think that at that time in my life, nobody would have taken a picture of this car? One picture, and it's that dirty picture that you showed before of the front, and I think Vito Bruno was in there. Yeah, that picture. And you can see the left side, there's like it's a tablecloth over the fender. And that is the only picture that exists of that car. And you would think that at least I would be near it. No, only picture. So again, this is where things start taking a life of its own.
Okay.
I'm driving the car around. No, I'm too busy being a kid. I'm going to Wildwood. I'm worried about what I'm going to wear next day. I'm worried about what girl I'm going to go with. I'm worried about what club I'm going to guest DJ in. I'm doing all this stuff. So what happens is I leave the car on the street. Back then, we put dummy plates on a car or whatever. And Charlie was saying, when are you going to register this car? When are you going to register this car? Yeah, after the summer. Long story short, I had this lady on my corner. She hated me. And I left the car there for a weekend. I went to Wildwood, and the car got towed away by sanitation. Now, when I came back, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, what the hell? Still not thinking of the implications of, do you have any idea how much this car is going to be worth in one of the biggest movies of the 70s? Stupidity.
You're not acting that way. You're not thinking.
No, the first thing from my freaking mind.
You're thinking more like, hey, I'm having fun.
Exactly.
And I'm not thinking about. You're not thinking. You're talking now as the grown up. Then you're not thinking like the grown up.
And now here comes the next change.
Another change.
You can't make this shit up.
Oh, it's real.
I've been interviewed.
This is real.
I've been interviewed hundreds of times about that era. This is the first time that this is going to be said, because it's just so freaky. Anyway, I go to work in Odyssey one night, and Charlie, rest in peace, comes up to me and he goes, let me ask you a question. Getting any trouble lately? And I'm like, What do you mean trouble? You know, police, fight, this. No, why? Well, there was a detective here looking for you. Like
What?
a detective? Yeah. Gives me his card. I actually had the thing. I had to pay. I just looked at it. I don't know what I did. Anyway, the guy's name was on it. I'm like, 62nd precinct. What the hell is this? That's near me. That's in Bensonhurst. The club is in Bay Ridge. No, I have no idea. So I remember getting up the next morning. I go to my father and I said, Dad, that's his card. The cop wants me to go down to the precinct. And he goes, for what? And I said, I have no idea. Did you do anything? I says, no. My father answered me in typical fashion. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you didn't do nothing. That's the way my father was. But by then I was a little bit older. I wasn't really scared of him at the time. So he says, I'll go with you. We go down to the 62nd precinct, walking in. Detective's upstairs in a room. Okay, I go with my father. We sit in this room. Detective comes in. He goes, you know why you're here? I'm like, no. Okay. He goes, did you buy a car from somebody? I'm like, yeah, it was a couple months ago. Why? Well, there seems to be a problem. I'm like, oh, what's the problem? You never paid the guy and you stole the car. He's talking about you never paid the guy, stole the car. Here's the bill of sale right here. No, wait. How did I had the bill? I think I knew. I can't remember because I had. I wouldn't have. It's contradicting myself because I wouldn't have had the bill of sale. Oh, I had the papers of the car in my pocket for whatever reason. He asked me to go back and he said, "Oh, I should have never said that." I can't remember, but anyway, I had the papers on me if I went to get them. Huh?
Wait, you didn't have the papers when you went to with your father because you didn't know.
No, I believe I went home to get them. Because my father stood there. They know I'm not leaving. My father's there. And I come back and I bring the papers. An envelope, bill of sale, registration, a new registration where you got to fill in the green one, and I had filled in. And he goes, that's all you got? And I'm like, yeah, what? And he goes, well, according to blah, 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 you signed his name. Whoa. Wait a freaking minute. You're telling me that this guy is saying that I took this car, he gave me the papers, and I took this car. So why would I do that? Doesn't make sense. He says, I'll tell you why you did it. Because we know where the car came from, and we know what the car's worth. You said you paid $250. That's when they told me, you realize this car was insured by Lloyd's of London? Do you realize that this car was in Saturday Night Fever? Well, of course you do, because you're the DJ there. That's how I found you. That's how we know. Now, everything is pointing to me. And if you look at the cop and what he's saying, I'm like, but that's not the way it happened. He goes, hold on. He leaves, goes in the other room. The guy who sold me the car ends up being simple-minded. He was a worker that worked for the guy. They just left the papers of the car there. They didn't give, they just left it. I don't know if they were supposed to come back for it or whatever they were supposed to do, but that was never his car. He took the money, put it in his pocket. Put the money in his pocket. Now, my father, you stupid freaking moron. Oh, in front. Now, my father is cursing me in front of the detective.
I don't mean to laugh. Excuse me. I don't mean to laugh, but I know this is not a moment you go.
No. Now it's getting serious because the detective comes back and he says, well, there's a very easy way out of it. Give us back the car. Let me give him the car and you'll walk out of here. Now I'm like, oh my God.
There is no car.
There is no car.
Shit.
Rather than go into the little details of whatever happened, next thing I know, I got handcuffs on me. My father's fucking
That day?
That day, yeah. They're charging me grand larceny, forgery. Now, there was a newspaper strike in 1978. This would have definitely made the front paper because of the thing, but because there wasn't a newspaper strike, it wasn't on there. I wasn't in it. Now my father, they're threatening to lock my father up. So my father calls friends of mine who come to my house all the time and explain what happened. What do these guys go do? They decide to go to the gas station the next day and threaten the guy. But I'm talking about this kind of threat. And if you know how Brooklyn was back then, it should have been taken care of and should have ended there, but because of the car, where the car came from, and we find out that somebody had offered this guy like $25,000 for this car. So it was all about the money. It was irreversible. So I end up going through the system, I had to sleep in a precinct. It was really, 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 really bad. But now my friends get arrested. I make night court. They don't. They're in Rikers Island for 3 days because it's a Friday. They come out on a Monday.
Oh my gosh.
Now. This is my first offense. So it's a long story short. It cost, actually, Charlie, rest in peace, the club owner, paid for my lawyer. It cost at that time about $7,500 or $8,500.
Like 70 grand. Oh,
to go and do this, and I just when you look at something that
so what did the lawyer, what was the plea bargain or whatever it was with your lawyer, what did he say to the judge?
Okay. What got me off was they did a test on this guy. They made him do it. They realized that he was simple, and then when they started to ask him questions, he was saying this and then all of a sudden saying that, and then say, so they use that as a ground, like, listen, why would I go and do this and walk away and run away with a car where for $200, I mean, it says the money on there. So $200, I'm going to do that?
Right. So was it Lloyd's of London pushing to go to jail?
The car was still insured by Lloyd's of London.
So Lloyd's of London had to make good on this payment, basically.
So what happened was that's when the movie people had to get involved. The movie Paramount and all of that had to get involved in this. And that because now it started to get bigger and bigger. Now you got Paramount. Now I got lawyers for them. And I'm like, oh my God. My father wanted to freaking kill me.
I can see that.
Wanted to backslap the hell out of me. But Brooklyn, it was terrible. They almost locked my father up.
Yeah, because they're looking to hold everybody.
He's a kid. It was terrible. It was freaking.
17, 18?
Yeah, I was just 17. Yeah, just 17.
Jesus, good Christ. True House Stories unraveling this.
It's just, you can't make this shit up.
Never made the front cover, but it made news tonight here.
Never, it's amazing.
Story, True House Story.
So now I go from here to here to here. And now we're in 1979. Now it goes to the next year. We're in 79. Disco's everywhere. That's the Dolls a couple of years later. Disco is everywhere. Everything's disco. Boom, 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 boom.
Awards, ceremonies, Grammys.
So now you got to remember, and I say this, I never had a mentor. I never had somebody that told me, listen, Ralphie, this is what you got to do. You strike while the iron's hot. You're this DJ in this club. You want to try to make records. So what you do is these promoters that are coming to the club, you got to tell them, say, listen, you want me to play your music? Let me remix a record that you got coming out. Right. Like the business end of knowing what to do. I was too scared to even ask and know what to do. So again, my whole life, I never had a mentor up until, at that period. And it ended up costing me because God knows where I could have went from there as far as if I decided and said, you know what, I'm the DJ in this club. How about if we do a world tour? Now the movie's coming out all over the world. All over the world. And just imagine the parties and rock. Forget about it. God knows what would have happened after that. But I didn't think, and I didn't have anybody mentoring me to let me know. So we're in 79, and then the next big thing that happened was the radio station, KTU. The radio station was new, and I don't even think they had DJs, like regular DJs. This is such and such. They were just filling people, and they played mixes all day. So I was asked to do a version of a mix-up. It was like an hour and a half. I forget what it was called, the first one, and it happened August 1st, 1979. Now, August 1st, 1979. A lot of people weren't born, but for me, it was a day that would live in infamy for the simple reason. There's another weird thing that freaking happened to me. I give them the tape. They got it. When they got the tape, this guy, Tony Martino, was Allant Enterprises, had to do a 12 West, that club 12 West in Manhattan. I would give them the tape on quarter inch. They would transfer it to half inch and up to speed to, mine was in 3/3. They would do 7 7/8. Somewhere in the transfer, the two LEDs that are going, something happened in one of them in the transfer. I had no idea. So now it's a Saturday afternoon. It's 88 degrees. Manhattan Beach in Brooklyn is Disco Beach. Girls in bikinis, all the people in the clubs, kids, there's got to be
thousands and thousands
of people there, okay?
Sea of people.
Yes, sea of people. Somebody has pictures of that. I'm sure people remember from Brooklyn back then. Anyway.
But explain this. Hold on, everybody. Wait 1 second. Now, mind you, Disco 92 is on every
single station there. That's all you heard. One radio station, the whole beach, everybody.
You hear this song, you can hear the whole beach. It's got radios.
So now, at the time, I would have done it differently. I mean, now I would have done it differently. But what I did was, instead of me going to the beach when it got played at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was home hooking up my reel-to-reel and recording it so I could hear the DJ say my name, which was a big thing. It's great. First time I'm going to be on the radio. I still have the tape, by the way. It's on Mixcloud and my SoundCloud.
92, today's Master Mix is brought to you by Odyssey.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Ralphie Dee.
And that was the first time they botched my name.
And they said,
we have a special guest from 2001, Ralphie and Diego Agostino from the...
Diego Agostino. Ralphie Dee Agostino.
Yeah. The same place. And next song, the mix is good. Second song, the mix is good. Third song, the mix is good. Now, I'm in my house, and I can just imagine everybody on the beach, everybody had it on. All of a sudden, the song was playing. This time, Baby is playing. Then all of a sudden, I start hearing, which everybody that's listening to is hearing the same thing. And I'm like,
oh no,
what is that? What's going on? All of a sudden, whoever the DJ was took the record, This Time Baby, and plays it. I couldn't even explain to you what I thought. My first time on the radio, and this happens. And they play 3 songs. It was G. Keith Alexander. I'll never forget. And 3 songs.
Voice, bro. He had a golden voice, though. He was a dope man.
I am so freaking disgusted at this point. And then in the middle of like the third song, they put the tape back when it was the second side. And it was okay. I'm sorry, there was something wrong with the tape. That devastated me because I told you the mix is gotta be good. It's gotta be right. And here I am there's millions of people listening to this. They don't know. They think it's me that I'm in the studio playing. I'm doing it right there. It's me that's messing it up.
Man, what happened? We heard you.
Oh my God. I got to the beach about 3 o'clock.
And
what happened? Well, I was out. But you gotta remember now, here I am walking to the beach. I was just on the radio. That feeling of being different than everybody else was so euphoric with what I'd just done, but yet in my insides were like this because I knew that there were people that didn't like me because of that. And I still, the nervous feeling and all of that kind of stuff. So I had to deal with this shit. And it was really, really bad. And that was like a great thing that happened here. I was like, oh, it's great. All of a sudden I went,
so here you are, like looking hot.
Yeah.
Outside.
79.
You're looking.
Roseland, I won the DJ of the Year thing. I got the trophy, and I look great and I'm smiling here, but inside, I was a messed up kid, man.
You're dying inside.
Yeah, I was dying inside. It was terrible. That was the beginning of, not the beginning, just being in the middle of the depression. So then there was the funny kind of things, which I just go to think of, like if you're from New York, you know who Crazy Eddie was. Crazy Eddie was a very, very big electronics store, and we had, after the movie came out, they finally changed all the changed the turntables. They bought 1800s. And they bought that. So we bought it all at Crazy Eddie. So they decided to film Crazy Eddie. It's insane. And they did this commercial. it's really inside the club. And that's the guy, Dr. Jerry from Disco 102. He was the Crazy Eddie guy. These prices are insane. And if we can't play the music now because they'll probably take it off Facebook, but I'm in the background. All my friends are in the background. This is like a Saturday afternoon. And this was like really cool. And if you really watch it, it's just making fun of, obviously, the Saturday Night Fever thing. And it was all about Crazy Eddie. And you'll see, it's Crazy Eddie. His prices are insane. And we just, this was something that was freaking hysterical. Oh, my God. That is freaking
the 10.
Let's see. I think it says it. Crazy Eddie, right? Doesn't he say it?
Yep.
Yeah, Crazy Eddie. His prices are in Crazy Eddie Fever.
There you go.
So, things like that. And by this time now, 79, you're looking at, now things are starting to get a bit uncomfortable. Now all these clubs are opening, and I'm doing this Disco 102 thing. I was on the radio again, and finally, thank God, at least the next time they didn't have a problem with the tape. But things are starting to get hairy, and this is where, again, you got to understand, this is a microcosm of an area. This whole Saturday Night Fever thing only lasted about 2 years. So if you go to days, it's 300, like 600 days or whatever, 24 months, 23 months. But the things that happened in the 23 months, all these things are happening, but yet I'm still not right in my head, not knowing where am I going from here? What am I doing? What do I want to do? Until the mixed shows happened, and then I started to get into, getting into like doing remixing and stuff like that. And if I could do that, that would be great. But again, I didn't have anybody to go up to. I didn't have I wasn't friends with like a Jelly Bean. At the time, a Jelly Bean, if people know, Jelly Bean was like, what he was able to do, that guy did it right. But he had people behind him that knew. I'm not to say that he was stupid, but he had people to go off of, and they made all his right decision. Look what happened. He ended up meeting Madonna, all that stuff. But we're talking about late 79 now. Disco was...
What happens with disco?
Yeah, this was a really, really, really bad thing. And, and I personally started to feel it because then now we would have a kiddie disco at Odyssey, and the younger kids were there. And everywhere you look, get your disco haircut, get your disco this, disco shoes, disco, everything was buried. Disco down to Burger King, to the point where it just got really, really, really stupid. And now it wasn't cool anymore.
Right.
2001, people now were over that. Now the people that were coming to Odyssey were the people that were coming from Europe that wanted to see the club. I mean, now the club was full of tourists, and what ends up happening? Now I'm in the same club doing the same thing, but now I got people filming commercials for French TV, people interviewing me in Italian, just really, really, really weird stuff. And to this point now, I'm like, okay. And that's when August, I believe it was, in 79, this guy, a radio guy from Chicago, decides to do this disco demolition night. Now, in a way, I can get it. Here's a guy who's a regular programmer in a top 40 radio station that now this guy's list is like 20 songs and 14 of them are Bee Gees songs. I mean, you know, the camel's back has got to break somewhere. And I get it, because after one of that they had ballads. They had this. Then the younger brother, what was his name? Andy. He came out with stuff. And then it was just everything. Bee Gees. Now, to me, like Ed said, I had kind of got a little bit of a weird taste in my mouth, but not to the point where, you know, what the hell am I going to do? But then this thing happens, Comiskey Park in Chicago. And once that happened, that was a arrow to the brain turning point of what was to be, because in the fall of 79, I was with a couple of friends of mine at a club in Bay Ridge, and I had met this girl, and it was almost closing time, and I had gotten out and was sitting in my friend's car, just seeing her, hanging out, whatever. And as I'm sitting in the car, I'll never forget, these 4 guys come out of the bar across the street, and they see me. I got like a leather jacket on, dressed like a disco guy, you know, and they had like, whatever, dungaree jackets. Disco sucks, fuck you, you disco dick, fuck. And now I'm by myself. These guys are drunk. They were big guys, big Irish guys. And now I'm like, I got this girl in the car, and I wasn't a tough guy.
That's good. He's got.
I gotta hunker down, and I gotta protect myself and this fucking girl from catching a fucking bin. I was gonna catch a fucking beating. And like magic, I go to get out of the car. My friends are turning the corner. 5 of my friends are coming towards the car, and they see this. Let me give you the G-rated version of this, how this went down.
The clean version.
Put it this way. If you would have done what they did to these guys, you'd be in jail today. You'd be in jail. Your life you'd be in jail for the rest of your life. I mean, these guys got really, really hurt. But back then it was a different thing. And it was every man for himself. And how it happened was that was where it started to really get bad. Now, you know, should I keep my hair like this? Should I wear this? And that's when the backlash started to get to the point where it started getting into the radio stations and this and that. Now the music that I'm playing is starting to change. And all of a sudden, 1980 was starting to change. And at the end of 1980, I had the show on KTU. It was once a month. It was called Studio 92, 3 hours, and it was still disco music. And you're looking at all the late disco stuff that came out. But now you got Billy Joel, you got the B-52s, you got Blondie, you got this. So now they're saying, you know what, Ralph, at the end of the second hour, can you do like a new wave set? So now I start seeing that's changing. And, you know, what am I going to do? You know, I couldn't. I'm not going to walk away from it. I'm still on the radio. So I would have to mix that kind of stuff into it. And then at the end, to the point where disco became a dirty word. They didn't even use it anymore. The word disco. So now here I am, the poster boy for disco, the Guido from Brooklyn. I'm the Antichrist. All the people.
Supreme cuisine.
Exactly. I'm the one, like all the disco came from gay roots. Disco was first celebrated and was a lifestyle in the gay community. Here I am, a testosterone-filled Brooklyn kid with a freaking hair and collars and all of this. There you go, just like that. And they are like, who is this guy? 2001, what? Get out of here. And that's how it was. And it got to the point, it was bad, where I would normally go and get records from record companies. Some people were nice about it, but I just felt that it was changing. And I kind of got mad in a way, but I also was a little bit relieved because it was just too much. Now disco. Now it's like, it's not cool to be a DJ at Odyssey anymore. It's not cool to walk into Macy's. There was a disco section. Really? That's how bad it got. So the disco backlash was definitely a slap to the face. So by this time, the end of 1980, 2001 Odyssey, after the tourists got there, they got an idea, and it worked too. They decided to do an all-male review, male strippers. It was never done anywhere before. It was I'm telling you, it was the first place they ever do it.
Like a chip in the space of the chip.
Yes, exactly. And
first time ever?
Time. It was because some guy came in with the idea. He obviously was a piece of it, but they had all these crazy women there. And by that time, I'm going to be a backup guy to play music for males. That was just so disgusted with everything. But what ended up happening, ended up saving me, was all these other clubs started to open. And then once the clubs opened, I started not going to Odyssey no more. What do you call? Ronnie took the job over. And then I would go to clubs. I would go see Danny Pucciarelli. I would see Pucciarelli at Park Villa. I would go see Gary Baxter at Cadabras. John Donato here. This one here. And
House.
Yes. Now we're out of the new wave thing, but now different music starts coming, and it's all that early R&B, down-tempo music. Unlimited Touch and what Mom used to say, Junior, and all that stuff. So it's actually disco, but they just took the word out. It's dance music. So I got my first job post Odyssey in this club called Hadar 2, which was
Elegant Hadar.
There you go, the elegant Hadar 2.
In Staten Island, New York.
Yes, Staten Island. And by now, if you look at my pictures back from like 2 years ago, my hair was puffier and longer, and the clothes changed. Now the collars were shorter, and we went from polyester pants to Capizios. It was stuff like, you could see the difference. So it was like a new thing. So we had like kind of new wave clothes, but the music was different. So now again, what saved me was because I was the DJ of Odyssey, and back then those good people that we know ran those clubs. They always ran a club somewhere. So if there was a club here that did it, they opened up somewhere else, or somewhere else. So what was happening was there was big money in the clubs. All those people knew that. There was liquor to sell. There was ways to there. So that's what happened. And going to Hadar 2, and I worked there, and that's when I met Tommy Musto. It was the first time. I have in that picture with the elegant Hadar 2, there's a little speaker in the back, and it was a car speaker from my 1980.
I saw that.
The 1975 Cadillac. Yeah, that speaker.
Yeah, keep all that speaker right behind him.
Yeah. That was actually a car speaker. A car speaker. And what was happening was Tommy Musto had come to Hadar, and I was playing Beat the Clock. Dun, 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 dun. And he goes, yeah, you know what? You know my father. My father knows your father. They had a TV store and all this stuff. So Tommy goes. So I'm putting the monitor on. So Tommy goes, "You want me to fix that for you?" I'm like,
"That's Tommy right there, everybody."
Tommy, Johnny Dee on the side. That's the flavor. That's it. So I says, "Yeah, that would be cool." And he says, "I'll tell you what. Give me that 12-inch of Beat the Clock." It was a promo Beat the Clock. Meanwhile, I had two of them. I was like,
"I'll give it to him."
And that's how I met Tommy. So anyway, through Hadars and all of that. Now, I'm starting.
Tommy grew up in McDonald Avenue, right, or something? Yeah, like that?
I grew up in Avenue X. He grew up in Avenue.
Okay, Avenue. Yeah.
So we became friends, and then let me see. I went from Hadar 2, then I went to Blossoms, which was another club in Staten Island. It was underneath that hotel.
As the years go on.
Yeah, this is early 80s. And then I went to Scarlett's. And through those years, I was able to reinvent myself and survive as a DJ, because now I was strictly at the places I was because of how I played and where I played. So now my talents as a DJ came up because you still got to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, after it doesn't, it's going to make a difference. So, and plus I knew people that had like kind of a following. So it was okay, but I still had no direction in my head. I was just a DJ. I was still, believe it or not, still living home. I was in my early 20s. I was living at home with my parents. And things were okay, but I wasn't making tons of money. It was just, I was surviving. And it wasn't until right around 82 when all of a sudden Planet Rock comes out.
That label.
And yeah, that's what it led to. So Planet Rock comes out. It's the biggest thing. Now the music totally changes from R&B to this electro drum machine type music. So now like, this is freaking great. So meanwhile, Tommy had a partner, Tommy Musto and Sozy, that they were partners. Tommy Sozy used to make money from doing things we won't mention.
Rest in peace.
They were able to obtain the first 808 drum machine. They had the Techniques RS 1605, which I have inside, which is that big $8,000 reel-to-reel now with 2-track, 4-track. And they started doing edits, and their edits got introduced to KTU after I left. So it was another era in KTU. And I was really into doing that. So now I'm saying to myself, wow, this remix thing is really, really cool. So I started seeing them, and hanging out with them and seeing what they were doing. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I would really love to be like a remix type of person. Again, no mentor, no nothing. What am I going to do? So I remember one day just getting records from the pool, going through them, listening to them, and I get this record. It was called Funky Space Play. It was on some small little labels in the Bronx or something. And I'm listening to it. And I was listening. I said, you know what? This thing could be so much better. There's no intro. If they added 16 bars at the beginning and then put a break in it, made something you could mix out of, it could be something. So I look and I seen there was a phone number on the label. I call. Got an answering machine. My name is Ralph. Not mention Odyssey, none of that. I get the record from the pool. I think it's really, really good. I mean, I think it could be better if you could do this. Boom. Maybe about a day or two later, I get a call back from the woman who was running the label. She invites me down. They booked a studio on 36th Street, whatever. Now, I've never, ever been in a recording studio before, but they don't know that. It's a typical story. So I walk into the studio. Now, back then, you weren't allowed to touch anything. This is in 1983. So there was an engineer that was there. So all I did was just to tell the engineer what I want. Okay, I want these first 16 bars to be drums, then add a hi-hat, then do this, edit. Then they would go into the first chorus, and that was done. So they re-released my mix. I didn't get paid for it, but they re-released it and they put it out on that label. And there was if you went to record stores like Rock and Soul and all that, they would have these like flyers. It would say Rock and Soul, the best-selling records, this, that, and then they put what do you call it? An advertisement there. Funky Space Player, such and such, Ralphie Dee remix. Wow. I was like, this is freaking great. I was like, wow, this is so great. The record came out in the pool. Now, I remember, I was in IDRC. By that time, I told you the cuisine stuff, everything became like Latinized, which there's nothing wrong with that. The Italian thing, I didn't think they felt all the time when the Italian stuff was happening.
Yeah, but it turned now.
Exactly. So, I changed pools because it was just becoming, I'm the Guido in there. These people don't like me as it is. I leave. I go to a small pool in Brooklyn, and it comes out. And then I kind of like got the idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a studio and stuff. And this was Jelly Bean time. Now, Jelly Bean time is like no other time because here was this guy who I had known about, but he was now walking on sunshine. All these records are coming out. His name is on it. And he's playing at Xenon. He's playing at all these places. And I was thinking, wow, I would love to do that. Now I think if I become a DJ in these places and I do it, but meanwhile, you think you're going to walk in anywhere and start doing that? I don't care how many 2001 Odysseys you worked, it ain't going to happen. And it was, I tried, but it just didn't happen. So anyway, Jelly Bean is doing his thing, and that's inspiring the hell out of me to do that. Mustard and Slowly, we're now on KTU, and they're doing their thing. So now the next big break comes. Tommy Boy Records.
Let's go to that.
Dance Music Report comes out, and this is the actual the second thing, but it leads up to really quick. They had a contest. The song Play That Beat. They wanted people to remix it. So I entered it, and I did this mix, and I took like crowd noises and stuff and edited it together. I had my first reel to reel, and it came in second place. And the winners were Double D and Steinsky, and they were the ones who did that version of with James Brown in it. Now we come to the payoff. Dum, dum, dum. And I came in second place, and I remember my name was in there. It was really nice.
Someone that never really did it?
I was like, I did it on my own. So it gave me like, well, okay, I got it.
The boost of encouragement again. There you go.
Absolutely. And this is now, if anybody who's following this, life goes like this.
Pay attention now, everybody.
Sometimes, again, these are things that nobody knows. The next part that happens. So what happens is now, in 83, I went from playing in clubs in Staten Island to this place called the Rooftop in the city. The Rooftop was 2 blocks from the Funhouse, and I got the job through whatever.
The commission, basically. The commission said go there.
It was 10 o'clock at night till 10 in the morning. All you could drink, private club. So in Jersey, clubs closed at 2. That's where their crowd was, from Jersey. So here I am playing at this place from 10 in the morning, 10 at night till 10 in the freaking morning. And
how was set you played?
Oh yeah. Like it was nothing. Nothing. You know what? That's right. A lot of people don't realize that.
Listen to it.
10 hours. 10 hours straight. Like 10 hours. 10 hours. So as DJs when we were younger, we were seasoned. Right. We were doing 10 to 4 every night. And then go to after hours sometimes and do that.
Right. And then move on to next club. Right.
I mean, we had help with substances and things like that if you really want to know. But I mean, thank God, you know what? I'm lucky.
I didn't want to say that. I just wanted to make clear and keep it a clean show. Yeah, keep it clean.
But I'm lucky that I never became an alcoholic or a drug addict. It's very easy when you got that stuff and it's there. And I got people that I know that are doing this and I'm not even paying for it. And I'm getting all of this stuff. But anyway, thank God. But that's another story. Maybe I'll...
Well, can you play that drink for me?
Here, take this thing. Take this. This is for you.
Wait, like this. Here, Ralph.
There you go. Here, take this. Here.
7 and 7 for you, Ralphie.
There you go. So I'm in
Ralphie. Okay. And next you play.
Yeah, you got to tell it the right way.
Now, I know they would take the money and they go like this to you and they go, take care of that for me.
Yeah.
Like that for you. And he says, sure.
Oh, man. Forget about it. It's like part of the tip. Those tips. I would have like a box that would have a bunch of stuff in there, pills, this and that. I mean, I wasn't a pill guy, but just, you never know. Anyway, I'm in this place, the Rooftop. The Rooftop is a couple of blocks from Brooklyn. Now the Funhouse. I'm sorry.
Time, I know this is definitely around the Funhouse because he's wearing Jordache.
Yeah. This is the year after. This is the year after. This is
I can tell from the picture because I had the same pants.
Yeah, I'll mention this picture. That's a very big thing too. That's another life-changing thing. Man, I never told people these stories, so it's weird. Every time you get your story,
everybody's soaking it in, taking it in. Come on.
So I'm in the Rooftop, and I'm playing there, and I would get this magazine, Dance Music Report. Cool. Next thing I know, I open that up, and again, it said, now Tommy Boy has a new contest. It's the play that it's the I forget what the Big Beat Bust Out, blah 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 blah. And this time they wanted you to take all the Tommy Boy hits and mix them, like make a medley out of them, and put it in.
Before you go any further, there was another company called everyone DiscoNet.
Yes.
Service.
Yeah.
The reason why Tommy Boy saw this was because there was DJs doing these mixes.
DiscoNet, yeah.
Right. And they had service these, you would pay a membership fee and you get these records. And these guys are playing bits and pieces of all the year's records.
Yeah.
So Tommy Boy had the idea.
Yeah. Tom Silverman, who was actually before his time, he was a good person to think things through. So I got to singing. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. But by this time, I said to myself, wait a minute. Most so-and-sos here on the radio. They got digital delays. They got an 808 drum machine. How am I going to be able to put a mix together with my reel-to-reel with just edits? Because I know they were going to enter the contest. Because everybody knew it. An aspiring DJ. Thousands of them, I don't know, thousands, but all these DJs entered the contest. So I said to myself, got an idea. So I approached Tommy, and Tommy says, look, they knew about it and everything. He says, how about this? I came in second place the first time. Let's all do the mix together. And they agreed. So we went and we started to construct with digital delays and edits and everything. And we did this mix. And it won. We won first place. And I don't know if the pictures are still, if you got, that's what it is. That's the promo of it. We were called 3D. Tommy, I think Monica gave us that name or whatever. But the promo 12-inch came out, serviced all the pools. And that was one of the actual album, Tommy Boy's Greatest Beats, was one of the first CDs that came out. So this was like a big thing. I mean, now I'm on, to me, Tommy was a major label. I'm like, great, this is fucking great. Oh my God. Now I'm starting to realize my vision of what I want to do. This is it. I got the masters of all to play, Your Own Risk, Planet Rock, Cheap Thrills, Looking for the Perfect Beat, all of it. We have the masters and we're taking pieces out. We were using what was called a synclavier at the time. It was the first, it was like before samplers. We were taking all the pieces and all that, so we constructed it and did all these things. And first we actually did the medley with the records. And when the records won, then they made us go to Tommy Boy Studios. And that's when we started to take all the parts out of the songs and we made like a bed, used, I can't remember, the Planet Rock in the background, and then we put samples on top of it and all that, and it worked out great. Now, just close to show you that life changes. And what I'm about to say, it's not meant to degrade somebody, but it's such a bad turning point in my life, and I never forgot it. And one of the people that's involved, which is not alive yet, and this is no means involved. It's just the way he was, and just the way it happened, and it was really, fucked up.
Okay, so the reenactment. Give us the reenactment.
Really fucked up. Okay.
Here we go, everybody.
Finish. We're done. We're done. All right. Now we got to go and present the mix. We all go to Tommy Boy's office uptown, sit down. Tom Silverman, Joey Gardner, this one, all of us. And they play it back. We'll listen. All right. Oh, okay. Stops it. Tom Silverman gets up and goes, guys, nice job. I really like what you did here. I like this, and I like that. But you see the part here, this part here, 16 bars, you got to shorten that. So I'm, in my mind, well, listen, it's the boy. He's telling me we got to shorten it. All of a sudden I hear, what are you talking about shortening? I edited it. What are you talking about shortening? No, it sounds good the way it is. Why are you going to shorten it for?
Oh, God.
Look at my eyes. I'm like,
you're going, holy shit, you idiot. Shut up. You're saying yourself.
Now, I'm not the only one. I'm not going to speak for the second person that was there, but
there must have been an argument in that car.
I was white as a ghost. And now there's something else they wanted to shorten. And again, he opens up his mouth. There was a wine bottle that they were drinking wine. I was going to take this wine, I swear to God, and crack his head open. But with all of this stuff going through me, my mind was numb. We left that day. I don't even want to tell you what my thoughts were. They weren't good. It was a turning point in my life. With this close, a hair, 3 edits away from them using us as their editors, as their mixers.
Guys, they're in-house guys now.
They're in-house guys. And you know what ends up happening? I don't hear from them.
Right.
The record was supposed to come out. We were supposed to do this press thing. We were supposed to do all this. No press thing, nothing. The record comes out. It was supposed to be mixed by 3D, the dynamic duo, Tommy Musto, Tommy Solzi, and Ralph. They put Ralph D'Agostino. My name was supposed to be first because I won, which it didn't really matter. They switched the names, and it was the last time we heard from them. And it had to be one of the worst things in my we're right there. After all the shit I've been through in my life, all this stuff and everything, and I finally figure out what I want to do, and I'm right there through no fault of my own. Bang, that fucking happens. My relationship with the person who said that, which I'm not even going to mention his name. Listen, I understand it happened, but with one swoop of your fucking big mouth, ruined it. So now reinvention again. So now 1984, I start working at this place, Promotions, which is the biggest club in Brooklyn. The biggest, huge freaking place. That was that thing with me. I'm standing there with the dungarees over there.
Yeah, Promotions, right. This club.
Yeah, so now, yeah, there you go. I'm still trying to comprehend what I was so that they let the air out of my balloon to a freaking point. Now I'm just going through the freaking motions. And you got to remember, I told you I've been depressed all my life. Can you imagine what I feel and what I'm going through then? I may have a smile on my face in these pictures, but inside I was dying. I was freaking dying. I didn't know what to do. Again, no mentor, nobody to tell me, Ralph, listen, take it easy, do this, do that, do that. I just didn't have it. So all of 1984 passes. Let me see. All of 1984 passes. And now the people who ran this place, Promotions, unfortunately something very bad happened. Certain people ran, you couldn't have a club in Brooklyn unless you knew the right people. So everything was going great until one day some fucking jerk off decides to shoot somebody in the fucking head right in front of the fucking place, in front of 500 people. 500 people were standing there. This guy walks up to somebody and shoots him in the fucking head. What?
Whacked him right in front of everybody?
Huh? In front of it had to be about 3 o'clock in the morning. People were still in the club. This is right in front of the boom. Yeah. Over a girl. Some kind of stupid shit.
It wasn't a mob hit. It was a girl.
No, it wasn't a mob. No. It was over a girl. That becomes another. I go from working in the biggest club in Brooklyn, largest club in Brooklyn. We got every act. I still have the reel-to-reels of the acts. Walida Holloway says just stuff that's really good, but it all went to nothing. So the club opened up Memorial Day weekend, 1984, and closed Labor Day weekend, 1984. Only ran 2 months, but it was the biggest club in Brooklyn. They were parking cars in the schoolyards. Yeah, everything was okay until that happened. Now, that was it. Now my records are locked in this club. Labor Day weekend, I'm playing. Cops come in, the state liquor authority, boom. They arrest everybody. I walked out as a patron. I ran out of the booth, so they thought I was just a patron. They locked everybody. They left the bartenders up. My records were locked in that club.
For how long?
For 6 months. 6 months. Now I got no records. I can't play no way. That's when Danny Cole, rest in peace. Danny Cole and I go back for years and years and years and years, 79, 78. Like he worked at Jay's too. And he was working at Plaza Suite. Now, Plaza Suite was another club that was a staple in Brooklyn. It was right around the corner from where I live. And they said, come hang out, come to play. So that's what I did. And I went to go and hang out with Danny. And, I didn't have my records, but we made the months went by. And then in between that, I went and did a couple of guest spots. Rusty Yarnum, rest in peace. Great guy. I felt so bad. Passed away. He was working at a club, Key Largo in Long Island. He got me the job there. And then he played at Ann Vines and all these places. So I would borrow records, play. But I am a basket case, nervous-wise. But I'm just trying to make the time pass. Of course, now my dream of what I wanted to do was stamped on to the freaking point that there's nothing I could do about it. And then after promotions and after hanging around with Danny, the same guys who ran promotions opened up another club on the other end of Brooklyn called Club B. Now, Club B used to be a club called Fantasy Island, which in the early 80s was great. It had a really good sound system in it. And they hired me to open the club up like all the other clubs that they hired me to open. I wouldn't stay. Sometimes I wouldn't stay the whole time. I would only open up and say whatever. But it was all done under supervision. Believe me, if I was told to stay somewhere and I got paid for it, it was okay. Thank God I never screwed anybody around. I was never a big shot. I never dropped anybody's name. I would never have a big mountain up like that. So I start working Club B. And we would do these showcases and have these groups come, Divine and D-Train and all of that stuff. And Tommy Musto comes into the picture. She starts hanging out again, and we're all in there. And there's this girl. Her name was Nikki, and she was a singer. She was a background singer for Alicia. Now, Alicia, we knew, and Alicia would come to the club disguised sometimes and hang out and stuff. So it was like a little small little thing going on. So Tommy, by this time, Tommy had started to work at Northcott, which later became Fourth Floor and New Groove and all of that stuff. So he was like kind of, yeah, there you go. And that came later. So they started to do, engineering and stuff like that. So Tommy we all heard Nikki. Mark Berry was the producer. Mark Berry was doing Alicia, and Nikki, he would always hire Nikki to do background. And Tommy just thought, it would be great. We can get Nikki. It was Tommy's thing. He wanted to get Nikki to be a regular artist. And they pursued that. And the song, they started working at the state, and everything was working out. Boom. So here's another turning point. You can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. So now, in order to go into a recording studio by this time, we need money for studio time.
Sure.
See? So I'm talking to it with the people who are behind the club that I'm working in. And they say, how much you need? I think it was about 5,000, 7,000, whatever it was. He said, I'll tell you what. Come here tomorrow. You got the money. The money's yours. Obviously, there are strings attached to that, which we're not going to get into. But this was a big jump. I was like, wow, okay. We just do what we have to do. I think Tommy wrote the song. She wrote the song. It was right around the time like the freestyle thing was out. Like, Alicia, Baby Talk and all that stuff. 84, 85. And what happens is something happened to the point where I think Mark Berry got kind of pissed off that we were using Nikki as an artist. I believe something to that point. So long story short, we had to can everything. They think, okay, you just do it. What happens is now I got to go to these people who gave me the money and say, I don't need it. Really? Let me give you the G version here. Hold on. Put it this way, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
What do you mean you don't need it?
I got sent for. I don't know if you people know what that is. when you get sent for, somebody calls you and says, listen, you need to come here. This needs to be discussed. And then there are a bunch of people that are there and they decide the fate of what the situation is. And
it's like a Goodfellas, everybody. If you watch the movie,
it was it was a slap in the face to them. Here I am, like, here they are. I'm working for them and we're offering you money, you take, and then all of a sudden you don't. Slap in the face. It's just it's not right. It's not code. It's not right. So what ended up happening was nothing happened to me. I didn't get killed, obviously. But what happened to me was, you're not working no more. You're done. So my job at Club B, which was a 4-night-a-week job,
finished.
Was over. Now, what do? In comes Tommy Nappy, who I haven't seen in a long time. Tommy, if you're watching, I start hanging out now with Tommy Nappy, who he's one of the biggest DJs in Long Island. He's got 231. He's got Speaks. He's got Rumors. He's got all these places. They're one club hotter than the other. He's working 7 nights a week. He's getting married. So what does he do? Ralph, do me a favor. Take over all my gigs for 2 weeks. Of course, no problem. Here I am. Now I go to 231. That's where I met Steve Thompson. Steve Thompson actually worked 231. Speaks, all these clubs, Channel 80, everything was great. So now, without working in Club B, I'm making money working in all of these clubs. And after a while, probably about 6 months later, I kind of reconcile with the people with the money thing. Of course, I had to explain to them why I did it. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It was no fault of mine. I didn't have the resources. Like, the girl wouldn't want to, can't do it. What am I going to do? You don't know the music business. I'm going to go get some girl off the street to sing. It's not like that. And they kind of got it. And we let bygones be bygones, and that was it. And then I went to work at this place called 21 Hudson in Manhattan for the same people. And that's when Junior Vasquez came on the scene. And it's funny how people connected. After I left, it became Baseline, and Junior Vasquez was the DJ, and Baseline became a big hit. And that's how that went. Now, here's how I think I get to redeem myself in some way. Tommy Musto was working for Northcott. Then comes New Groove. So New Groove and 4th Floor are in the same loft. And in that loft was a place called Chico Productions. And Chico was from Italy. He was an importer. Hey, there you go. He was an importer-exporter, and he sold imports to record stores, and people will come there and buy stuff out of there. So I said, Tommy actually went through, it was like the way to go was you start working for Chico first, and then you go into working for like New Groove or working for whatever as a busboy or whatever, and an engineer cleans the same thing. Like sort of like what Victor Simonelli went through with but not as intense as that. So I'm working for Chico, and I was saying, no, Ralphie, we got these records. I licensed it, Gaucho. You want to do a remix version? It was really a re-edit. I just edited it differently, and then I did B Blase. Yeah, like 4 or 5 records. So now I started to get a little bit into, now I got records coming out. And this is right when the Hot 103 was out, which was like the KTO of the time. Now it's Hot 103. And Tommy was doing all those freestyle artists, and all of that stuff was going on at the time. And then you're looking at 87, 86, 87, 87, like that, 86, 87. And then Tommy becomes partners with Silvio. Rest in peace, Silvio, great guy. And we get in good with Frank from New Groove. And now New Groove is starting to put records out, the Burrell Brothers and all that. And that's when I meet Kenny Dope. Kenny Dope is doing stuff for New Groove.
Right.
And Joey Beltram. First time we meet Joey Beltram, he's doing stuff for New Groove. So now it's the late 80s, like that. And now a turning point happens. From 1983 until 1988, I kind of realized on my own that if I wanted to get into the music business and remix records and do that, you had to become what was called a Billboard reporter. A billboard reporter, the old times, any old timers watch, they know exactly what I mean. Billboard reporter, it's the biggest trade magazine there is. If you report your records, report people's records to Billboard, it's a big thing. So now you have leverage to, you know what, you got this record coming up. Let me do a mix. And, it was doable. And that's it. So that never happened. I've been trying to do that for years, up until, because you had to be in the right club. And the right person had to be at that position of the Billboard dance of the head of Billboard. So by this time, I had Pucciarelli comes into the picture, and Pucciarelli was running For the Record, and I got in For the Record. Now, For the Record, Frankie Knuckles, Jelly Bean, David Morales. You're talking any DJ is in that pool. So I'm going now. Pucciarelli ran the pool, and Judy Weinstein, kind of ran everything, but she started, this is the time with David Morales now is starting to, he's catching on fire. Knuckles is catching on fire. I'm going to see these guys every week. So it was like, it was kind of cool. We had like that's a Glamorama actually. And we're all, David's doing his thing and everybody's like emulating to David because David is like, he's the hottest shit that's going. So we kind of hit it off and everything was cool and all that stuff is going on. And then I get a break. The break comes when 1987, the people who I worked for at all those clubs with the money are behind, their associates are behind a club called Pastels in Brooklyn. Now, this is a very big turning, but Pastels is the most successful club in Brooklyn. Pastels opened in 1983 and ended up going 19 years with the same name. And before that, it was called Penthouse. And that's the original club where those heavy tapes that I showed you at the beginning, the guy who made them, that's where he worked. It was called the Penthouse. Anyway, it's funny how it all ties together. So there was a guy that worked at Pastels. His name was Mark Zimmer.
Mark Zimmer,
He was the DJ's DJ. I've heard DJs. I've heard Jim Burgess. I've heard lots of different DJs over the years, but Mark Zimmer was one of the most technically gifted, and he would do mixes that nobody would even think of. He was so precise, and he was a musician. He knew stuff, and I would always go to listen to him when I wasn't playing. It's just great. And when I was doing I started doing music at the time for Fourth Floor, the beginning stuff that I started to do, I would give it and he would play it and stuff like that. So we had a really good thing. So he was leaving Pastels. He went to go and become a caterer, went to a catering business. Now I have the opportunity to audition for Pastels. I get this job in Pastels. This is the club of clubs. I mean, I'm talking money, everything. Everybody went there. No, some light finally shined on me. Right. I go there, do the audition, I get the job. Now I get the job because of the people that I knew that put me in for the job. But now you had to keep the job because you had to know what you're doing. If you didn't know what you were doing, they didn't give a shit who you knew. Listen, he's great, but can't use him. He's
Gotta go.
So now I'm there, 87, 88, and now I'll never forget going up to the pool one day. Pucciarelli tells me, he says, Ralph, I got news that you're going to freak. What? They're short a Billboard reporter. They need another one. I'm going to bring Judy, the girl from, I forget who was doing the Billboard thing, to Pastels. We all know the place is packed. You're a shoo-in. You'll get it in a second. It's going to finally happen. I went from here, blasted to I was, wow. All that shit, all that bad stuff that happened to me, everything was finally going to pay off. Should I continue? You really want to know what happened? Of course, as time would have it, I'm in a club playing one night, and there were 7 partners in the club. I'm going to leave out their names, and I'm playing. One of the partners comes up. Guy was drunk, and he kind of said some shit to me. Get this fucker's shit off. What the fuck you doing? Embarrass me. I stood my ground. You come talk to me like that? Fuck you. I mean, I'm talking to one of the partners, one of the 7 partners, but I had backing that I knew that I was justified because there were people that were there. Listen, you come off to me and you talk stupid to me. Yeah, I know who you are, but still, you don't do that in front of people. So long story short, week goes by, everything's great. Now I find out they're coming Saturday night. This Saturday night, they're coming. It's like a Thursday. Oh, no, the week after. I'm sorry, week after. Wow, this is going to be freaking great. The club is packed every week. There's no way that they are going to say no, or they're going to say, you know what? Buy the music down, playing all the records from the pool. This guy's perfect. Let's use him. What do you think fucking happens? I get a call on a Sunday night, and it's from the owners of the club. And they said, Ralph, you got to come down on Monday. Now, when they tell you to come down there, there's a problem. Something's got to be discussed. Okay? Just me. If it was a DJ thing, they would ask the other DJ, George, or both of us to go down, but no. I come walking in this place, I'm going to sit down, and they're all at the table, and they go, Ralph, we got to make a change here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know, maybe it's the music. I don't know what it is. It's just, and this is the guy who, oh, I'm sorry, I left that all away. Yeah, long story short, the guy's telling me they're letting me go. This is the same guy who I didn't belittle him, I just stood my ground. And he got embarrassed by his partners embarrassed him because my guy had to come and stand up for me. Now, the thing is, even if you do this to somebody and those old timers do that, the partners are going to stand with the partners. That's the way it is. There's 7 partners. They're not going to have an outsider from a secondary thing do and ruin whatever they're doing. So long story short, I had no choice in it. When my guy comes to me and tells me, Ralph, listen, there's really nothing we could do. That's the way it is. Yeah, whatever. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. My life is about to fucking change here. This is a life-changing fucking thing. I am going to be something that I never thought I would ever do, and the opportunity is there. You're waiting all these years, and I refused to believe this. Long story short, they were coming on Saturday. That was the end of it. They didn't come. Now, I keep bringing back the depression. Remember, depression. Can you imagine how I felt after that?
Sure.
I was...
You crushed.
Crushed. Done. I was... There were days I wouldn't even come out of my house. That's how bad. I was so freaking hurt by this. I never thought that I would recover.
What's
if
that?
I was an alcoholic, I would have drank myself to death. If I was a drug addict, I would have shot dope till I died. That's how freaking bad it was. Now, all of you, can you imagine that? You listen to all this story and you're getting this. You go, this. When it says it, this. How much of this can you take in your life? I'm in my 20s. How much can you take? I was so devastated. I didn't know what to do. And I thought that would have been the worst of it, but no. There's
more.
There's more. As this is happening, my father gets sick.
Oh.
I had a bad heart. Told you, my father never believed in medicine, right? What happens? My father ends up in the hospital. And he dies. Remember, I didn't get along with my father at all. Never. But right before he died, I had a talk with him. I was the only person that I would have to rub his arms because he died of congestive heart failure. He drowned, basically.
Right.
So he depended on me to help him go through stuff. And what another bad thing. Now imagine all your life, you think of somebody and you never get along with them. You didn't hate them, but you just like never got along. And all of a sudden you realize that now you're older and you find out that he's not the guy that he really is. He's really a good guy, but he just couldn't help his life. His life was in shambles.
Sure.
And there were certain things that I had explained that he explained. And long story short, I got to like him. So he was in intensive care 42 days. And then I go, I was looking forward to speaking to him because we're having conversations about stuff. And then all of a sudden, he fucking dies. Man, I thought that, listen, is there any directors out there that want a movie? You see where this is going? This is unbelievable. This is my fucking life. Okay. Now I thought that I was fucking pissed off for losing this job here. Now I'm fucking done. My mind is playing tricks on me. I'm to the fucking point where I don't know if I'm coming or going. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know what's going on. And then again, there was always a savior. Somebody comes in and changes it. And that savior was Lenny Dee. Lenny Dee, I don't know if people know him. Lenny Dee's probably one of the biggest hardcore DJs in the world. Back then, Lenny was working with Tommy. They were doing all that stuff on Fourth Floor, and Victor Simonelli was doing stuff and all that. And Lenny met Tommy because he worked at what do you call it? WKRB in the radio station. And he introduced Lenny to me. So what had happened was Lenny said, come on. Listen, he just started to go to England. Well, that's Bones and me and Tommy. There was a picture of Lenny, but I think that was one of the things that didn't come out. So anyway, Lenny's working with Tommy. Tommy's engineering, and Bones was there. It's Joey Beltram. Yep. And we're Lenny's like, let's do this EP. Let's get these samples together. And this is the samples I'm referring to. You're gonna remember back in that time. The game changer in a recording studio was the S950, which is the Car S950. It was a 8-bit sample, which revolutionized freaking music. So we start doing these things, had all these ideas, and boom. And when we did this thing, it's called Outtakes on Fourth Floor. I think you saw it. It was the yellow thing. And it was the first record I did for New Groove. And Lenny and Frankie Bones had done Looney Tunes, which Looney Tunes became freaking huge in England. Huge. It was on the record mirror charts, the whole thing. So now Frankie Bones and Lenny are flying over to England doing their thing. They're the first house techno people after Morales to go over there and play. And now they're getting booked here, they get booked there. All of a sudden, Lenny comes back. He says, Ralph, listen to me, man. You have to come to England. You have to come. I'm telling you, and I'm still kind of reeling it off of my father's death and all that. I'm still like, the record is out, but it's because these records didn't do anything here. They did nothing in the United States, but in Europe, there were freaking heads of people. I'm talking about sample records that we were doing there. People are playing them. I was like, wow, okay. And he's showing me the charge DMC and all of this stuff. So we do outtakes, and then Victor Simonelli comes to me one day and says, outtakes. We were doing these sample parts, and I was just kidding around on vocals going, yeah, you know that. All right. And kind of stuff that kidding around. And Victor goes, yo, man, you got to use your vocal in some of these tracks. He said, we're doing this thing, me and Lenny, with this thing called Ease the Pressure, and we're going to put it out on, I think it was Fourth Floor. Yeah, went out on Fourth Floor. My sister is doing these vocals, but you would be great to do the chorus, Ease the Pressure, your mind, your body, your soul. And he said, that's what I'm doing. Ease the pressure, your mind, your body. That's it. That's it. So I recorded that thing, and Ease the Pressure became really, really big in the UK. It got licensing. So, it did really, really well. So now, Lenny, Tommy, and I think Frank are in the UK. They're going to the UK, and I said to Ralph, you gotta come here. You have to come here. You have to come. So what I did was, I took the money that I saved from working. I jumped on a plane, by myself, Pan Am Flight 103, I never forget, and flew to the UK. And, I got, they told me where to stay in Victoria Station and all that, and had everything. Yeah, that's later on, West Bam and Joey Beltram. So I get to the UK, and the first thing that happens, I get into a freaking cab. Now, remember, I'm an immense Beatles fan. Immense. Sven Vath. Wow. I'm an immense Beatles fan. And I get into the cab, and I tell the guy, take me to Victoria Station. And he goes, no problem, puts the meter on, and the first song I hear is Strawberry Fields Forever by that group Candy Flip. This is the first time in my life that something felt right. I couldn't explain it. It was just, there was that thing. And I remember getting to Victoria Station, I get out of the cab, and I go to walk across the street, and I go like this, and a freaking double-decker bus, the Mira, hits my freaking nose. I mean, that's how fucking close I came to getting killed. Of course, again, I believe when I'm right. You got to look right in England, right? You got to look to the right first.
Mm-hmm.
And that trip changed my entire life. Everything from that point on changed. I got to see all those early raves. I got to meet guys like Tim Taylor and Jeff Mills came later and all that. It changed my entire life. So then I started doing, from there, we started doing records. And that's when the next good part of my life came was we did this track called The Realm. It was a kind of a takeoff on Ease the Pressure, but we had a girl do the vocals, and we arranged it. That was one of the biggest house techno tracks in the world. This record was freaking huge all the road. And now I started to feel what it was like to finally have good things happen. And because of this track, I started getting DJ gigs all over Holland, Germany, and then come
Brooklyn, look at
that. And the realm was freaking huge. That was definitely a life changer for me. Yeah, they had like the covers of magazines, and my whole life, everything I worked for, all the lows and the craziness and the depression was still there. Even at this point, now I'm on a world stage. I got smiles on my face, right? I was a depressed person. What was happening to me, the depression came out when I was getting on planes. I had this separation anxiety, and I had gotten married, and I would have to take these what do you call it? I would have to take freaking sedatives to get on a plane. That's something. That's later on. You got to show that Carl Cox. Nobody knew Carl Cox was dead back then in 1997. My God, that's the what do you call it? Winter Music Conference later on.
Right.
It was just things were starting to happen, and then I started playing all over the place. And then the biggest rave on the planet was Energy, 1994. I headlined that, and that got there. Now I'm getting booked all over Europe. I mean, every weekend I'm somewhere, and the money started rolling in, and the records, and I'm doing all this, and it was like really cool. Everything was cool. And then I remember doing a record for Next Plateau. I was doing records there, Carl Cox. That was for UDG days. I did a record for Next Plateau. It was a sample record. It was a small little thing. I had to say that we were giving records to Easy Street and giving records to Strictly and giving records. Yep, that comes later, Urban Rhythm. And I started doing these records, and Eddie O'Loughlin, who I cannot thank. And I mean, he was the mentor that I was looking for all my life. He became. Eddie O'Loughlin was probably one of the nicest, most gracious people in the music business. To anybody that knows Eddie O'Loughlin, they'll all say the same thing. He was the nicest of the nicest guys. And what he did for me, he showed me the ropes. And what happened was, back then, there were like Winter Music Conference and stuff like that. There was a thing called Midem. It was in the south of France. It's where the Cannes Music Festival is.
Right.
Yeah. They would have it, and Eddie would go. So Eddie says, you know what, Ralph, what about doing records for me? Do records for me. I want you to do A&R for me. The next plateau, there was no shabby label. They had some good stuff on there. So I took it. It gave me a job doing A&R during a week. And then I was putting compilations together. I was doing mixes. I was doing this. The mixes I was funneling and doing them at fourth floor. So, I kept the money in the family. Everybody made money, and it was great. So then I remember going to meet them, and I heard this track. I was like, where the hell did this thing come from? These sample records with disco stuff and this before. This is 1994. I never heard anything like this before. It was a disco record. It was freaking great. I brought it home to him. I was like, hey, listen, this is like, wow, this is really, really cool. So he licenses it, puts it out, tries to get it on New York radio. New York radio wouldn't do it, but the stations in California and the West Coast were playing the living shit out of it. And here's how shit happens. I hear this. They got this movie, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, is coming out. It was a freaking huge movie.
Yeah.
The executive is driving in a limousine in Los Angeles. He's listening to one of the stations out there, and he hears this song. And he goes, wow, who is this? What is this? We got to put this in a movie. He says, well, actually, at that time, Next Plateau was distributed by Polygram. At that time, Salt and Pepper and Vogue and all that stuff. Long story short, but he's like, that's some great news for you, man. This song's going to be in a movie again. I got a nice bonus. It's great. But what ended up happening was the movie was in the can already, and the audio, and they couldn't change it. So what ended up happening was they ended up putting it in the movie. You know when they put it? They're rolling the credits. But still, I was like, wow. So you get that, and you look, and it's on there, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and the whole thing. So that was like a really, really good thing. And then comes Martha. Now, Victor Simonelli and Lenny, we're working on these sample records. And all of a sudden, we write Victor and Victor's sister, I think they wrote Gonna Get Everything Together, which is that's the Martha Gilliam version. Anyway, I'm sorry, not Martha Gilliam, Roberta Gilliam. So now Victor's working at Shakedown, and Martha is in there doing a track for, I don't remember who it was. So he asked Martha, he said, on the downtime, said, would you sing this and I'll pay for it? She goes, yeah, no problem. They had a really good relationship. So she goes in and does this Get Your Thing Together thing, which was based on a sample record where we took the chorus and wrote verses around it.
Right.
I bring this thing to Eddie O'Loughlin. He freaks. Oh my God, this is freaking. We gotta put this down right now. It's great. So what happens? This is when me, Victor, and Lenny go into the studio. This is at the height of Death Mix when Frankie and David and all of them are working in quad. We're using Eric Cupper and John Papo, and we go into the studio and do this thing, and we are like excited to shit because now this is going to be the meal ticket that's going to change it all. And what do you think happens? Here we go again. We're up here now, right? Everything's great. Then we go to put it out. Eddie gives the test pressings to Timmy Regisford. Who else was it? I can't remember the DJs. All the mix shows are going nuts. They play. Can't wait for this thing to come out. What happens? Martha, who had problems, if you remember back then, CNC Music Factory, she sued them. Black Box, she sued them. She heard this. She's like, no, this is not coming out. So she gave us a cease and desist. And that was the end of that. So now we're not going to just sit back and not do anything. So Victor finds Roberta Gilliam. And we get Roberta to re-sing it. Now, nothing against Roberta, but you want to take Martha's voice and her voice, and what the mix shows heard, and we gave them this, and they weren't expecting, and it wasn't as good or whatever. It was just a different type of thing. And the record just came out, did like a minimum amount or whatever. But what happened was Frankie Knuckles ends up meeting Roberta and does the album with Roberta, and they start using her and all that. So it all ended up, getting to the point where it something came up, and it just worked. Everything was great. And now, if you think we're actually coming to the end of what this is, because we're in 1994. But if you think that you're over with stories that do this and end up like this, I think about it. It gives me chills. Now, is there anything you want to ask me in between this before I go into this? Because I'm going to try to condense it really quick. But
no. You get real clear on everything. It's wonderful.
1997 comes around. Okay, I'm at a next plateau. That's done. I'm still doing, still playing all over Europe and stuff. I got myself into Bangkok and into Hong Kong, and all I'm doing the Pacific Rim stuff. And 1997, December is the 20-year anniversary for Saturday Night Fever. Now, this, one of the biggest movies in the 70s, is going to be big. Now, I already know it's going to be big. It's not going to be a surprise to me. We already know. So, maybe like 2 months before that or whatever, the radio station starts doing this. KTU asked me to do a mix for them. I do the mix. Interview, I do the interview, all this stuff. Vito Bruno, who actually was the owner of the floor, all of this stuff is happening. And here's the plan. 2001 Odyssey by then was sold to another set of people, and the club became Spectrum. And Spectrum was a gay club, which was great. They still kept the floor. Everything was still there. So here was the thing.
Famous floor.
So Vito Bruno is the promoter. He says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a 20-year anniversary Saturday Night Fever. We're going to do it outside. We're going to have the Bee Gees play outside on the street in a big stage. I forget all the acts. They had like 20 acts. It was like one of the biggest things to ever happen. It's going to be freaking huge. Huge. Like, great. Getting closer. And that weekend, on a Friday, I get booked to play in Chicago. I jump on a plane. Was it an hour and a half? An hour, get there, come back. My plan was play Chicago, come back. And the Saturday night, do the thing. Of course, now here I am. I'm the original DJ from the club. And 20 years later, I'm coming back to play in the original place where all this shit started, the beginning of everything. I go to Chicago, I play everything, and I called my wife to tell me what's going on. She says, man, you know what? The weather's really bad here. I'm like, what's the matter? She said, it's going to be a hurricane tonight. There's more stress. Yeah, it'll clear up. What happens is one of the worst storms in New York history. Trees are down. All this stuff is that. So now I'm not realizing how bad it is. So I finish I do the gig in Chicago. And the next morning, I got like a 9 o'clock flight. I'm going to be home by 10:30. I mean, this is like freaking perfect. It'll be perfect. It's great, right? There you go. I go to the airport. Delayed. What's up? No, there's a storm in New York. How long is it delayed for? Maybe an hour. 6.5 hours later, I'm in the same freaking airport. Now it's getting late. It's like 5 o'clock. And I'm like,
you're not going to make it.
I'm not going to fucking make this. No fucking way. Now I'm nervous again, panicky again, depressed again. Oh my God, there's nothing I could do. Finally, the plane boards. Right before I get on, I tell my wife, take my records, come to the airport and get me. We're going with the clothes I got, because I was going to get it. Clothes I got, don't care. Right to the fucking club.
Come there. Let me do what I got to do.
Let me do. What happens? Wife gets me, and I see when we're landing, everything's all raining, bad. I'm just like, get out of the driver's seat. I get it. I mean, I'm going through lights, you freaking name it. I'm driving like a freaking maniac. I get to where the club is, the streets blocked off, all of this shit. I can't get anywhere near there. I open up the trunk, grab my records. I got those heavy cases. Go park. Whatever. I'm walking, trying to get through the crowd. I get to the freaking side door and I see Vito Bruno, and he's going like this. He's, where the fuck were you? Like, what am I going to do? They escort me into the club with a bunch of bouncers in front of me. I walk my way down. I get to the stage. I walk into the fucking booth, and Joe Corsi, who's a radio station personality, is here. Oh, what's up, everybody? He's ready to get the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time back in 2001, but 20 years, all this stuff. The place is packed. The DJ that played before me was supposed to be out of there, but since I didn't show up, he had to stay. So he's playing. Well, what happens is they close the outside because of the storm. So there's no Bee Gees, no nothing. So the people that came, there were too many people. They couldn't let them outside, so they left them all in, and the place was overly packed. But it was overly packed for 2 hours. But of course, when I get there, here's where it all changes. I go in the booth now. The guy takes his record off. I bend down. I take the first record, put it on, put the headphones around my neck, plug my thing in, and I look out and I see people. Pandemonium! Here we go. It's gonna be great. All of a sudden, I go like this. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Causey gets on the microphone. Out of the corner of my eye, what do I see? A fucking fireman with the white helmet, making his way towards the booth.
Oh, Jesus, God help you.
Okay. So I got to go through the emotions of what I'm feeling now. This guy gets to the booth, points to Joe Causey, goes like this, takes the microphone. He says, "Shut the music now." It was like I didn't even. My life now again is gonna fall. It is the pressure and just the nervousness of a moment in my life where. How many moments can you have in your life that you think are going to happen and it's going to be great, and something always fucking happens? And sure enough, shut the music off. Everybody out. Everybody out. I actually put I went to my knees because my records were down there, and I felt the burning of tears coming to your eyes to the point where when you're depressed your whole life, you feel like you got a cloud that follows you around. And if you listen to all the stuff that I explained to you, that cloud always made appearances throughout my life. And I'm just like, I just don't get once. Give me one time, once. Even though I had little things, but now I'm finding out, realizing that I'm not even enjoying the good things. So ended up we go to the bar and I ended up meeting Denny Terrio, who taught Travolta to dance and all of this stuff. And then
he gets to become a Saturday Night Fever guy.
It was just so terrible. And at that point, I had enough.
What did we learn from all this? What did we learn?
Man.
You got to sum this up because each time it's like it's a euphoria. It's like bipolar. Right. It's like a bipolar story. It's euphoric,
yeah. And
it goes. Oof.
That was probably the last. No, it wasn't the last thing, but anyway, at that point, I knew that I needed a break. I just couldn't do it anymore. The gigs in Europe were starting to dry up because of the what do you call it? The rave laws were changing and all of that. And then I tried when I was making music. I came up in the house thing, but just for some reason, I just couldn't get the right record or whatever. And then we discovered techno by mistake. When we first went to England, I'm listening to breakbeats, the jungle. And then when I first went to Holland, I was hearing a Belgian techno. So when I went in the studio with Lenny back then in the 90s, we took Belgian techno and UK breakbeats and put them together, and it created this new kind of techno, and we brought the speed up a little bit. And once you start making records in that genre, that's when you get booked in that genre. And then after a while, that's how it all ended up. And then it got faster and faster and faster. And by that time, I was done anyway. So you're looking at that was the only time where I stopped DJing. I stopped. I ended up starting a family. I ended up going to Wall Street, working on Wall Street. I fucking hated it. Oh, I couldn't stand it. I wasn't cut out for it. And it's the early 2000s. And then came 9/11. Now, I don't know if it's legible there. There was a picture. I actually cheated death 3 times. The first time, 1995, TWA Flight 800.
What, you booked on the flight?
Yeah. I was not, I evidently not at the time, but I was on that plane 3 times. The tail number, that plane.
I flew that flight too. I know that flight.
Chris, dead. Swiss Air Flight 101. I was on that plane 10 times. Flight, I think the pilot committed to whatever, boom. And then the World Trade Center, that came down. I was there. I was out of there 3 months before. But when you realize that if the timing was different, I would have been dead because the plane crashed underneath and I would have been there that day and that would have been it for me.
Who you working for in World Trade Center?
I was working for Stockton Equities, which was a Wall Street firm. And if you ever see that movie, Boiler Room or Wolf of Wall Street, that's a whole other story. It's got nothing to do with it. But anyway, I went there, and then my son was born. And I got a job, a cushy job at Prudential. And then 9/11 happened, and that kind of killed everything. And now I'm working at Prudential, which is a really good company. Once 9/11 happens, I'm done. And then out of the clear blue sky, out of my past, comes my friend who used to book me in Holland. He tells me we have this idea for a company. It's record bags. And the record bag, you carrying the metal case around, normal metal case. We have soft bags. You're going to be able to take them on the plane. There you go. UDG. Every DJ in the freaking world had a UDG bag.
I have one.
And yes, I still got mine. Now, what had happened was their company was in Holland, but since I had left and I was running around going nuts at the same time that this was happening, my mother and my uncle die within 6 months apart, and I'm left with property and a house and people looking to sue me. I'm in court for 9 years, not knowing where my next dollar is going to come from. And all of a sudden, UDG happens. I used that as a springboard, and Eddie O'Loughlin got us to make the bags. There we go. Make the bags for the Winter Music Conference in 2003, and boom, it blew up. And from 2003, 2007, I was doing UDG stuff, and that's the Carl Cox picture and Laurent Garnier and Eric Murillo and all that. They became UDG ambassadors. So I kind of used the music people that I knew in the background and brought them all to the forefront, and it all worked out good. So in 2007, 2008, the what do you call ended? The stock market crashed. Everything went down the freaking drain, and now I'm getting divorced. On top of this all, because now I'm like getting sued from everywhere. And the only good thing out of those years, Legends of Vinyl. Louis Mario, Legends of Vinyl, inducted me into Legends of Vinyl, which I thank. It fits. I was back then second generation DJ, and that kind of kept me in and everything. It was really, really cool, and I was doing all these, started little parties, this and that, and yeah, Jelly Bean. That's one of the parties, and by the time. That's a great picture. That's Constantino and Frankie Knuckles.
John Brown.
Yeah, I went to Music Conference, yeah. And then what happens is as I'm getting, I'm under this guy, yes, that's for Legends of Vinyl. Now, as I'm trying to fix my marriage, they tell me, listen, your marriage is over, whatever, but now the depression is very important. The person, the doctor who was treating me says, listen, Ralph, we can't do nothing about your marriage. But if you want, let me treat you and see, because you got some real bad issues. Now, judging from what I told you of all these stories, you think I had some issues? I think so. But some of them were justified, but it doesn't matter. There's still issues. So long story short, I go to him for like another 6-7 months. He says, Ralph, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. What I'm going to recommend is a psychiatrist. I'm going to tell you, psychiatrist, that means pills. Now, listen, I'm not ashamed about anything. I went and I had to go get medication because I was fucking bad. And it took me 6 months. They put me on the right medication. And I'll never forget, one day I woke up and I was another person.
Wow. There's a to the lining.
I was another person. But what had happened was I got really angry because I realized that all this time passed. And I lived my life under where I could have gotten help. I didn't know. And I think back about it all the time, but you know what? I've never looked back as far as what had happened in the past. It's an experience, but I take the experience and move forward with it and try to keep it going. So then everything just stopped, and all of a sudden I had a settlement court. I got my house, I got my money, I got everything, and I never looked back. And since 2012, I had gotten back into DJing. I played at this place, Aqua Blue, and then my friends at Prestige in Staten Island. Shout out to Tito and everybody there, and all the DJs, Eddie, and all this, John Donato and Anthony Barcia. We did the openings. We took the name Pastels from the original club, and we called it Pastels there. And we had the 40-year anniversary of Saturday Night Fever there. And from that point on, the club has been running great ever since. And it was,
of course.
You'll see a bunch of flyers from there. And that worked out well. And then, going out, I figured from 2019, I started my label D-Tracks, and I started doing that, started getting back into the music. And that was the point. Now I got a clear head. Now I said to myself, okay, I did everything that you could do. I weathered the storm. I did everything that I tried to do as far as my brain could take me. But now is different. Now I have an opportunity to do what I did back then over again, but this time smarter and enjoy and have a clear head. And that makes all the difference. And that's what made me go, Legends of Vinyl, there you go. That's everything. I started my label. My publishing deal came through. We made some money on some stuff. And it was so great. It really I really had a great time reinventing myself again. But now here's the difference. Here's the one last little dip that happens. COVID.
Yeah,
but this time, I don't go into a deep depression. I don't, oh my God, what am I going to do? I knew how to handle it. And I reinvented myself by doing all those, just like Lenny is doing right now. Got to hand it to the man right there.
Thank you.
True house stories would have never happened if he didn't turn around and reinvent himself.
It's true. I said it during the darkest period of mankind. A lot of things you either sank or you swim.
Exactly. And you are swimming and floating really nice, because I have what you've heard from me. A lot of that has never been told. At first, I was like kind of embarrassed to say some things, but now I think, listen, you know what? And if it can help somebody that's depressed, don't live your life depressed, man. Don't.
So let me ask you something then, Ralphie. What the psychologists, of course, evaluate you, and what did they come up with? We know the story, of course, your life, and you worked through it. What medication they feel you needed to balance out?
First, they gave me Zoloft. That didn't work. It was
always the hardest thing is Zoloft.
Yeah. Again, you look at the side effects. You're like, oh my God. Loose bowel movement, seeing spots in front of your eyes.
It just doesn't work sometimes. It just doesn't do anything. It becomes more detriment.
No.
So how many medications did you go through to get?
Actually, I was lucky. The second medication worked.
Okay, so because a lot of times people, they do one or two and they go, I ain't doing it, and then
takes a long time. So actually, I got to say shout out to Maria Rotella. Maria Rotella worked with me in this spot that I'm sitting right here, which used to be UDG's office, and she sat next to me, and she had some issues, and she was given what do you call it's actually Lexapro, which is what I take, which I take now. It's a miracle. She went through it, and she knew what to expect. So when I was getting symptoms of things, she would stop. Okay, listen, get up, go outside, go get a drink of water, eat something, change the subject. And if it wasn't for her getting me through that, I would have probably said, hey, same thing. No, but the main thing and the weirdest thing is I woke up, I don't know how many months it took. It had to take about 2 months, 3 months. But I remember getting up one day, and it was like I was a different person. There was when you get depressed to the point, it hurts. It becomes like Ashton is getting headaches. And it affects every single aspect of your life. Paranoia will creep into your life. And if you think you're going to beat it, it ain't going to happen. So don't be ashamed. Go and get help. because I had no idea. Imagine me after all these years, them telling me that you've been depressed
coming from this. Come on.
Tell you what.
Coming from this.
Oh, we can't hear it. Well,
no, you can't. I don't have. There's no order. But I'm saying coming from a dance floor and creating a movement.
I still can't believe that I did all of this in my life, and I'm sure there are not a lot of stories like mine. And it was nice for me to actually be able to tell it on my terms, because anytime I've done interviews or done things, it's always about this, and this. But to give people insight, see, if I have one thing to thank, I think I would say I put lots of smiles on people's faces. I may not put a smile on my face at the same time. It would have been nice if I was able to enjoy things. It would have been nice if I was able to have a mentor. But you know what? Then there's also the last question.
I got news for you. You mentored a lot of people, not even realizing you did.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I've gotten that. I met my wife on your dance floor. You played a song for me, and it reminds me of this, and I did that and all of that. But
everybody's applauding you. We just can't thank you enough.
Yeah, I can't thank you, man. This was great. I was really looking forward to this. Of course, it was, like I said, taken out on my terms.
This was a real true house story in every.
And I left some shit out I didn't even tell you, so I think that's enough.
Here's the thing. In order to make an interview of this level, I must have a personal relationship with the person.
Yeah.
And that's why my audience has to say thank you for sharing your time with us, because there is no way that anybody would ever know what you went through unless you tell it.
No.
And we've given you the forum, and thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Lenny. I mean, hopefully this is not the end of the story. Hopefully.
No, it's never the end of the story. But the story goes because as long as you live to the end of your days, you're always going to learn something else.
Yes.
Something fresh is going to happen. But these key parts you spoke about are so groundbreaking. Everyone sees the DJ booth as the
yes, everything's great. Yeah.
It's the center of the universe. But nobody realizes really, unless you're in your shoes or going through the day-to-day, that what really went on. And how much everything's coming at you. And yet you said, I still have to smile.
Right, because it's not, my story it doesn't have an ending yet. Hopefully, if everything goes well, post-pandemic, getting back on the road, getting back to making music, getting back to doing it, but enjoying it. At least give me that way. This was great.
This John Donato's been writing. A lot of people from Staten Island have been writing on the thing. Everyone's so proud of you. They heard you tell your story.
Got a lot off my chest, actually, that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people say, you know what, they tell people too much of your business. No, I tell people what I've learned in order to maybe to help somebody else, or just to
tell
people, listen, I'm a human just like everybody else.
You're mentoring. You're right now doing a explanation of what you went through, and maybe one person learns from this. You've already given $1 billion away.
Yeah. That's good. At least I get to give back here, because I got shit taken from me. But man, I have more freaking ups and downs than the freaking cyclone. Oh my God. Well, but again,
I want to thank
it's all good. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate all the support out there from everybody, from when I was a kid, the Odyssey days, the 80s, and everything matters, man. Everything matters. And I hope, if I could help somebody maybe discover something they didn't know, or if it was just as entertaining enough for you to say, well, you know what? I did not know that. I'm glad.
Ralphie, let me just say this, everybody. Ralphie Dee, an icon, for God's sake.
Yeah.
An icon. As far as my book.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you.
Icon. Next week, we got Brandon Block and Alex P. More icons coming on. And it ain't stopping there. We don't stop. We don't stop here at True House Stories. I can't sum this up as being one of the most groundbreaking interviews. Very heartfelt, touching, very commissioned.
Maybe we can make a movie.
I think, yeah, you got to write the script now from this. From everyone here in New York City, Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, all the way across the oceans to the UK and beyond. I want to give everyone a very good night, and we'll see you next week. And don't forget, tomorrow, you're going to hear Ralphie talking on Clubhouse. Don't worry, he's a cat.
Well, that's right. Tomorrow's Clubhouse. Yeah, and this will go up, right? And it'll be viewable later.
Yes.
Tomorrow or something. Right.
Now on Facebook. But here's the thing. He's a true Chiacchierone. He's going to tell you more stuff. Those that don't Google the word Chiacchierone, you'll know that.
I'm sure there's going to be questions. You know, you said something about this. What did you mean by that? And I know that's coming.
I got used to you. There was enough people asking questions. I couldn't even stop you because it was too much. What about this, Ralphie? What happened to the car? They want to know what happened to the car.
Yeah.
They got arrested. Nobody heard the ending. We'll
talk about it tomorrow.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Lenny, take it easy, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your support. Good night.
Clubhouse.